Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this landing page conversion guide, you're going to learn how to get 25, 35, upwards of 40% plus conversion rates on your landing pages. So if you just created your landing page or you're starting from scratch, this simple 4-step design checklist will make sure your pages are ready to convert. So timestamps below, along with a link to MailerLite, our preferred landing page and autoresponder software. So let's go ahead, jump right in. The very first step on our checklist is going to be our attention check. We want to make sure that our landing page is ready and able to grab our ideal customer's attention. And of course, to do this, we need to make sure that we have 3 key elements above the fold. Now, all above the fold means is the screen that shows up before someone has to scroll down. Of course, this came from newspapers, so nobody really reads them anymore, but advertisers used to want to have all of their headlines and ads above the fold of the paper before someone had to fold it down to see the rest of the page. So instead of just saying scroll down or something, we're going to keep saying above the fold. So the 3 things you need, way too much time on that. Above the fold is going to be a clear headline, your call to action, and of course, some sort of image of your offer. And this all needs to take place before someone scrolls down. So your headline, all it needs to do is answer the question of what is this and is it for me? Your graphic simply gives some sort of tangibleness to whatever you're offering on your landing page. And of course, the call to action is the button or action you want someone to actually take. So to help with designing your own landing pages and getting some inspiration, and of course not copying, just inspiration, here are a bunch of examples. So the first one we have is from Mindvalley, and we can clearly see all 3 of these elements before someone has to scroll down the page. So you can see this is a very long landing page, but all 3 of these elements are present up top. We have a headline that clearly communicates what is being offered. Instead of some sort of graphic of the webinar, we just have a picture of the person who is being interviewed for the webinar, and then we have a clear call to action. Something you'll want to take note of with these landing pages is the call to action button is going to be a different color, and you want it to be a different color because you want it to stand out. We'll get to more on how to properly do calls to action when we get to checklist item number 2, which is going to be your friction check. So the next example we have here is from Digital Marketer, and you can see it follows almost the exact same format. Here we have an actual graphic of what is being offered, and you'll see that the call to action button is a different color. It doesn't stand out as much, but it is a different color, and we'll get to how many form fields you should have in our friction check. Now this next example is from one of our landing pages. We have a clear headline, a graphic of what's being offered, and then we have our call to action. Now a way to improve this page is you'll see the call to action button is actually the same color as the headline, so it doesn't stand out very much. It stands out a little bit because it's not black text like everything else, but a way to instantly improve the design of this page would be to make it a brighter color that's different from the headline text. Now this next one we have is from consulting.com, and it's going to be our simplest landing page yet because it pretty much only has these 3 elements: a headline, a graphic, and a call to action. And that's really all you need. You can see Get Started is a nice blue color that goes in contrast to the rest of the page. Now, I do want to include another example from Mindvalley here because this particular one breaks the rules a little bit. So you see the headline says, "The Japanese art of healing your money wounds." Now, I don't know about you, but I have no idea what money wounds are. Maybe they're talking about a paper cut or something, but probably not, right? So if your headline doesn't really communicate either the result your ideal customer is going to get or what is being offered, then you probably need a pre-headline or a sub-headline to add some more explanation, which is what they've done on this page. The sub-headline gives a little more context as to what the heck money wounds are and why anyone would care. Because if we just had heal your money wounds, most people probably have no idea what money wounds are and wouldn't actually enter their contact information on this page. So the subheadline brings a little more concreteness to what's being talked about. So just keep that in mind if your headline can't really stand on its own. Now that does it for our attention check. Now that we've grabbed their attention, we want to make sure that we remove all the friction from actually taking the action we want them to take. So this is going to be where we're going to be looking at links, form fields, and calls to action. Now links are the easiest part of this step. just don't have any, right? So you might see some landing pages that have links at the top, they have a bunch of links at the bottom. You don't want to do this. We want it to be very clear that the only action someone can take is clicking that button to enter their contact information. Now, speaking of contact information, this is another sticking point that you can really see your conversion rates just plummet, and that is by asking too much information. So you want to think about, what is the minimum amount of information I need from people hitting my landing page in order for me to continue the sales conversation? And so this might just be a name and an email, it might just be an email, or you might want additional information. So I'm going to start off with a situation where you would want additional information and then how simple you can go. So going back to our digital marketer example here, you can see they asked for the name, they asked for the last name, then they asked for the email, and then they even asked for the company name, and you have to check a box to agree to their terms of service. Now, for 9.9 out of 10 business owners and marketers, this is going to be absolute overkill. My assumption here, obviously I don't work for digital marketers, so I can't speak for them, but my assumption here is they're looking for a higher quality lead. Obviously, less people are going to be inclined to include or fill out all of this information, right? And so when you see landing pages like this, the only time you want to emulate something where you're asking for this amount of information and adding extra friction to the conversion process is if you get too many unqualified people. So this is where you want to make sure that, you know what, you've been running traffic for a little while and you're just getting everybody under the sun, and you need to push some people away. And this is a great way to start pushing people away who might not be a good fit, but I don't recommend starting here. In fact, where I recommend starting is what consulting.com is doing, where you can see simply they just ask for the email. That's literally all you need to continue your sales conversation and sales process. So don't ask for more information than you need. Let's eliminate that friction and make it really easy for people to continue through our sales process. And our final check here with our friction is going to be looking at our calls to action. We want to make sure that all of our calls to action are consistent, right? So if someone goes to the top of our landing page and they don't take the action that we want to make sure that we have additional calls to action throughout the page, but those calls to action need to mirror as closely as possible to the first call to action. So we'll go back to our money wounds or money healing landing page here, and you'll see again at the top, we have our headline, we have our image, and then we have our call to action. And if we scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, you'll see we follow the same format over again. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Headline, graphic, call to action, and you'll actually see that the call to action form looks exactly the same as the one up top. So this isn't a place where you want to try different designs or try something new. Make it consistent, your calls to action. Of course, you'll see the headline is a little different and maybe they change the image, but after that, you want it to be pretty much exactly the same. And going back to our digital marketer example, we have our 3 attention elements up top, and then they use 2 of those attention elements at the bottom. You can see again, the form looks identical to the one up top. Consistency is really important to reducing friction when it comes to your calls to action. So, okay, we've gotten a lot of things done with your landing page design. We've made sure we've grabbed their attention. We've made sure we made it as easy as possible for someone to take that call to action, to go the next step in whatever your sales process is. Now it's time to make sure that they actually get to the page in the first place. And this is going to be the bounce check. So according to a study by Google, upwards of 30% of website visitors will bounce or immediately leave if a page takes up to 3 seconds to load. So between 1 second and 3 seconds, you can lose up to 30% of your visitors. That is people who click the link to come to your page and it takes up to 3 seconds to load, 30% of them are already gone. Now, between the 3 second mark and the 5 second mark, you can lose 90% of people. So definitely want to make sure that our page is loading fast. So we need it to load fast, we need to compress our images, and of course, we need it to work on mobile. So there are 2 free sites you can use for testing your landing page speed. You can go to Google Page Insights, Speed Insights tool, and then you can also go to Pingdom's Speed Test tool. Both of them will run through your landing page and they'll give you insights on what is slowing down your page. Now, 9 times out of 10, what's slowing down your page the most is going to be images. And so the second check you need to do here in making sure that people don't bounce off your page is compressing your images and making them as small as possible. We don't need high quality images on a landing page. We want the page to load nice and fast. So you can use a site like resizeimage.net or any other free tool that you can find out there. In fact, both for Mac and Windows, there are native applications that allow you to compress, crop, and resize images, and you want to turn them into JPEG. So you want them as small as possible so that your page loads nice and fast. And of course, you also want to do a mobile preview. So all of the pages that we've been looking at so far, they actually look pretty decent on mobile. And depending upon your page builder, you'll be able to toggle between seeing what it looks like on desktop and what it looks like on mobile. So you just want to make sure that you modify that mobile version so it actually looks good, because a lot of your traffic is going to be coming from mobile. So you do want to take that extra step, make sure your page design and your font sizes and everything still looks good in a mobile setting. Now the final check, number 4, go and hit that like button if you're still watching, is going to be the legal check. So let's get a disclaimer out of the way as we go into disclaimers. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you I'm not giving you legal advice. Oh my gosh. I'm not giving you legal or financial advice either. I'm just sharing what I do, right? So I'm just sharing what I've personally done on some of our sites and what I've recommended for some of our clients, right? And so this comes to the legal aspects of your site. So it's boring, but we do need to talk about it. So you need some sort of terms of, I should say probably, right? I can't say definites here. So you probably need some sort of terms of service or terms of use. Then you probably might need some sort of disclaimer, and you're probably going to need a privacy policy. Depending upon where you're driving traffic from, you might need one or all 3. All of these are a good idea. Now, of course, I did not write them myself. So you can go to a site like legaldisclaimer.com and you can actually purchase for less than a couple $100 all of these legal documents that you have to put somewhere on your site. And most likely you're going to have to link them from your landing page. So we talked about no external links. Well, this is the one exception, because most advertising platforms like Facebook and Google, Pinterest, Instagram, even though Instagram is technically Facebook as well, I digress, they all require some form of links to these documents on your site. So definitely make sure you check the terms of service of where you're advertising, and you have some sort of disclaimer links or disclaimer text based upon whatever your legal counsel recommends. Now, of course, you can go read a bunch of blog posts and you can go check out what other people are doing in your niche or industry. But what's most important is you do not copy other people's privacy policy, terms of service, or earnings disclaimer. That could arguably get you in more trouble than not having it at all, because there are plenty of lawyers like getting paid. And so if you copy those, that's copyright infringement, and you're most likely going to have a law firm come after you because they crawl the web looking for people who do just that. There's a lot of money to be made by suing smaller websites for stealing privacy policies, income disclaimers, and terms of service. So definitely do not copy. Make sure that you get your own, which is why a site like incomedisclaimertemplate.com can be very helpful. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some value out of this video, and most importantly, you feel a lot more confident in getting your landing page ready to be a conversion machine. Go ahead and check out the link in the description to MailerLite, which is the tool that we like to use, along with some other helpful conversion guides on terms of running your split testing or building your landing page from scratch. So go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dive videos just like this one, and until the next, keep building the business you love.